today I'm going to be talking about Normal People by Sally Rooney. I picked this book up kind of on a whim, I think in part because I've been seeing a lot of the Hulu ads for the show, but I have not watched it yet. I may watch it now that I've read the book, but I definitely had a lot of interest in that. And so I decided to check out the book. It was really short, so I was like, why not? So essentially, Normal People follows the story of Connell and Marianne. And right from the get-go, we find out that Connell's mom cleans house, essentially is the housekeeper for Marianne's family. So the two have sort of grown up together. They know each other well, but they also feel like they are on opposite sides of the track. One is very rich and one is not so rich. I mean, he does fine. His family gets by, but it's just him and his mom. And she's a housekeeper, so he just feels kind of like he doesn't live in her world. They're separated. The main setup of the book occurs during their high school years. The two sort of hang out together in private, but not in public. So they're not together in high school. They act like they don't know each other pretty much. But behind closed doors at their house, they agree to be sex friends. And it's sort of what that kind of relationship does to them. I'm like, trying to think of a word, but essentially it's what does that kind of relationship do to them? So they've decided to have this relationship with one another. And I can't really just call it purely sexual because it's not. The two begin to talk with one another. So they have this physical relationship, but at the same time, behind closed doors, they do talk with one another. They talk a lot about their insecurities or their goals and their feelings for the future. But it's also kind of shallow because even though they have this connection, like the minute they're out in the real world, they don't have that connection. Like especially Connell will just act like, no, I don't have anything to do with her. I don't know her, which is interesting. And part of that has to do with that once they reached high school, like even though Marianne is from a wealthier family, she is not a popular student. Marianne is very much a loner. She keeps to herself, and we know that most of that is actually probably psychological damage that's happening at home. Her family isn't very nice. I'll just put it that way. Her brother is very abusive towards her. He says miserable, like terrible things to her all the time. She doesn't get support from her parents either. It's just kind of like, well, why are you the way that you are? Instead of telling the brother to leave her alone and that that's inappropriate. And so at school, she is very much a loner. She's an outcast. And Connell, on the other hand, is very popular. He's the guy everybody knows. He's a soccer star or football star. And so he doesn't want to be really associated with Marianne. Even though he actually starts to develop these emotional ties to Marianne, he actually really likes her, he won't stick up for that fact. He won't say, yeah, I want to date this person. It's, no, I don't know her. I don't know her. And that just causes more damage to the two of them. And half the time they don't realize the trauma that they're causing one another. Because instead of Marianne at the same time saying that she as well is having feelings and she'd rather have this be a real relationship, she's just like, oh yeah, no, it's just physical. And yeah, no, it's fine. You want to take another girl to the dance and date her? That's fine. It's fine. It's not like I have feelings. And it's very frustrating. But at the same time, it's kind of raw and real. So it's frustrating. You want to do that. But you have to appreciate the kind of realness of that. Like these relationships do exist and it's better than those magical fairy tale stories. So essentially, after high school, the two keep orbiting one another. They do see other people, and that's kind of the interesting internal thoughts that you'll get because each one is jealous of the other one's partners and they really want to be with each other, but they won't allow themselves to be with one another because their relationship was strictly as, yeah, we were sex friends once, but we don't have that kind of relationship. And it's ridiculous. They never openly talk to one another. And that almost sounds like I hate the book. I don't, because I do like this complicated, frustrating relationship that they form. I feel terrible because I feel like on Marianne's end, like Connell, he kind of makes the best of things and he finds people who are decent. But Marianne, she just thinks so little of herself. She actually starts getting into abusive relationships. I don't even want to get into that, but she does essentially get into abusive relationships where she feels she has to be treated that way. Because that's what she deserves, and somehow convinces herself that that's also what she enjoys. And it is such a horrific portrayal of what can happen and like how messed up this is. And she can't just let herself find a decent relationship and be happy. She also can't just be honest and communicate with Connell. I don't know. It was so frustrating. I honestly feel like in both cases, maybe Connell a little bit less, but I feel like in both cases, they would have been well served by some mental help. I mean, most especially Marianne, because she just had such a troubled upbringing, and she was just so abused, and then for Connell to like kind of also treat her as though she was undeserving of a proper relationship and proper emotional connection. I get that that's probably not what he thought he was doing, especially since she's saying, oh no, I'm okay with this. That is essentially what he was doing, was saying that, yeah, you're not deserving of having this relationship with me. And, it hurt. It hurt a lot. But to me, I kept getting, as I was reading this, I just kept getting like Wuthering Heights vibes. I think because they sort of grew up together and they formed such this like almost toxic relationship with one another. But at the same time, you felt like if they were just honest with one another, they actually could have had a very fulfilling relationship with one another. I'm not giving away the ending, by the way, because other things do happen. I'm going to stop before that. But just in general, like reading the book, I had Wuthering Heights vibes, because it's like, yes, this is kind of toxic, but at the same time, it could be fixed. Like if they just properly communicated, it could be fixed. Instead, it would just be, no, we're not meant to be, or no, I have to do this or that. And it was just, people just talk and be honest and open. Connell, stop being an idiot. Like, if you like this girl, stop worrying about anybody else and just be with the girl. And that's actually one of the things that he hears about after high school, is like there's people who are be like, I know that you were with her on the side. I always wondered why you didn't actually date her. And he starts to get this guilt about that, as he should. But yeah, it's just one of those situations where you're like, just be honest, like stop the toxicity. And yet I liked it. I would say that if you're in the mood for kind of a messy, complicated book with a messy, complicated relationship to give normal people a try, I am definitely interested in seeing the show now, see how they changed the story, if they changed it, what did they do to adapt it? Because I feel like the commercials were almost much more like straight love story based. So I don't know. I'm interested to see like what they did change and adapt for it. But I liked the story. I thought it was different. I liked its Irish setting. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, if you're looking for a messy book, this is a messy contemporary piece that, if you're in the mood, I think this will serve you. That's it for this video. I will see you next time. Bye.